Greetings everyone, Redbeard here joining you again for Rasslin with Redbeard number 5. This is going to be us here back once again at the, I'm just going to hold my camera, this is not going to work otherwise. This is Rasslin Redbeard number 5. We're here at the Hangar in Cayce, South Carolina once again for WrestleForce. This is their May the 4th show. Yes, this is being filmed on Star Wars Day, so all of you card-carrying geeks out there, including myself, I'd like to extend a message to you all saying, May the 4th be with you, always. It's as close as I'm going to get to an Obi-Wan Kenobi impression, but at any rate, this is the May the 4th show 2014 for WrestleForce. This is a pretty heavily gimmicked show here. They're calling it Revenge Survival Games, which survival games appears to be their take on a traditional war game style match where you have teams of 5 in an elimination style scenario, to where it could be 5-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-2, whatever else. Sometimes leads to some pretty interesting booking, sometimes leads to some pretty messy situations as well. So we'll see what happens there. I know they've got a lot of talent on this show. Of course, with 2 matches of that nature, you've kind of got to have a pretty stacked card in terms of talent. I know that the 2 survival game, style matches are going to be involving one team that has been assembled by Cedric Alexander. The other team will be put together by Caleb Conley. Of course, the 2 of them have been feuding over the WrestleForce Championship here for a couple months now, which they've turned in some fantastic matches. The other survival games match is going to be a team involving the fabulous Playboy Bob Killer, and he's going to be assembling a group that will take on some guys that have been put together by Eric Bradford and BJ Hancock, and that'll be an extension of their feud as well. I don't unfortunately know everyone who's going to be involved in both of those matches. But those are the 2 headlining contests that we've got here this evening. I do know that there may also be at least 2 more singles matches. I know we've got John Scholar and Lodi potentially locking horns here this evening. They had a match up in North Carolina for PWX here a couple of months ago that was just brutal. It was a pretty close to a bloodbath. Can't do that here down in South Carolina though, because that'll get you shut down by the the Athletic Commission quicker than just about anything. But those 2 should be going at it here, and I believe, if what I saw on Facebook is correct, Zane Riley is going to be taking on Josh Powers, which that should be an interesting contest because of the fact that Zane, of course, is always entertaining. Zane is just Zane. And then Josh is a capable hand. He's not one of these guys who looks like $1 million, but he's very high on his wrestling acumen in terms of being able to put together an interesting contest. I've seen him tag with Mr. Sleaze. I start talking about the guy, I can't remember the rest of his name, but I've seen him tag before, seen him work before, so I think the 2 of them will have a good match. The rest of the card, I really have no idea, so we'll see how it goes. But I've heard some criticism that the WrestleForce product has gotten a little stale here. To me, it hasn't been that bad, but I've seen people saying that it's gotten a little bit to where they have the same matches month after month. But personally, I would watch Cedric and Caleb go pretty much any time of the day. As for the rest of it, your guess is as good as mine. Like I say, don't think they've been that bad, but I can see where someone who has maybe been going to WrestleForce shows longer than I have could say that. But that's always something that you have to, kind of be forgiving of when it comes to indie wrestling, because in a lot of cases, these are promotions that are using local talent. They can't afford to bring in guys from Florida and Georgia and North Carolina every month. It's just not feasible, because you got to pay all your fees, pay your talent, whole 9 yards there just to run a show. But regardless, I'm looking forward to this one. I think it's going to be a big change in terms of what we've seen here recently. You got a lot of moving parts on these matches. Could be overbooked, could be underbooked. You never know what's going to happen until it happens. That's wrestling, though, and that's the great part about it. So I'm looking forward to this here. Wanted to take a moment though to kind of brag on myself because I have not shaved my beard or trimmed my beard in several weeks now, and it is looking quite luxurious, if I must say so myself. But I noticed something not too long ago, not the gray hairs or white hairs are coming in there, but the fact that if I do this, it looks kind of like my beard puckers. You know, there are things that make my beard pucker. And I'm going to start a new segment on the show here where I talk about something that makes my beard pucker. And this week it's going to be the fact that there are still to this day promoters who are allowed to exist in this industry who go about promoting shows and talent that are in no way, shape, or form anything associated with what they've got going on. And what I mean by that is you got promoters out there who put a guy's face on a poster and they know they have never even spoken to the guy in terms of having him on their show, but they promote him as being there, and because of the old card subject to change tagline, they think it's okay. Well, I got news for you. It's not okay. You're a scumbag. If you do that and you're a promoter, you are helping to ruin what this industry has always been. And that's something that teeters on the precipice of being a business full of scumbags anyway, but you're not helping. You're making things a lot worse. I'm looking at a couple people in particular. I'm not going to name names because they're well known enough to be pointed out by, you know, folks who have been here and done that. But it's something that was brought up here in the past week because of a poster that involved Gunner from TNA, who's a guy who's worked around here for a long time, who's been well known, and who's really just now getting to a point where he's getting a lot of attraction in TNA. But there was a promoter in North Carolina who said he was on the show. He's not going to be on the show. But it's just one example of things that promoters, and I shouldn't even call them promoters because they're really just scumbags, like I mentioned, will do to try and get people into their shows to buy a ticket. And that's really appalling. Any other business, it would be false advertising and people could take them to task over. Because of that little asterisk that comes up on the screen there, or on the poster, and it says card subject to change, they think it's okay. It's not. It just isn't. Don't support those type of people. If you go to a show and you get the feeling something's been run poorly or that something's wrong, don't go back. It can easily sour people to the indie wrestling experience, but this is how you weed out the talent, or excuse me, the promotions that are not worth supporting. Don't go to those shows. Please don't. If you're a fan watching this and you get the inclination that the guy running the show is in any way, shape, or form shady to that nature, don't go. Please. That said, that's what makes my beard pucker this week. We'll get on with the show here, though, to much better things. This is, once again, number 5 from Rasslin with Redbeard. I'm impressed that we've gotten this far. We're here, like I mentioned, in Cayce, South Carolina for WrestleForce. I'm looking forward to this one. Looks like I got a pretty good sized crowd here. I'm running a little bit late. There's about 15 minutes till bell time, so I'm going to go ahead and head on inside, and we'll see what happens here.
To Revenge, presented by WrestleForce. My name is Brett Wolverton. I am the commissioner here at WrestleForce, and we got a lineup for you this afternoon. We have 2 survival games matches, 8-man tag team elimination contest featuring the top superstars here in WrestleForce. In one of those contests, you will have not only the WrestleForce heavyweight champion, but the WrestleForce tag team champions. And ladies and gentlemen, in the other contest, the winning team will get to choose the stipulation for the final encounter between the modern classic BJ Hancock and the fabulous Playboy Bob Keller. In addition, we've got 3 singles contests. We've got the Party Manimal Zane Riley in action against Josh Powers. Hey. We've got the women of WrestleForce in action as Double D Darcy Dixon takes on Lucy Mendez. And our final singles bout, we'll see the Southern Savior John Schuyler going one-on-one with Lodi. We've got a lot to get to, so I ask at this time, everybody please rise. Gentlemen, remove your hats as we honor the greatest country in the world with the playing of our national anthem.
Joey, our new mascot for Rasslin with Redbeard here. Yeah. There you go, Joey. Good shirt, by the way.
That's right.
Raise them right. And good job, KDOGG, on that one there. I'm here again with two of the founding members, might as well go ahead and say, of the cast of Rasslin with Redbeard here. Billy Morris and KDOGG. Guys, we've had a lot here so far in terms of the show to this evening. We've got the first of the two Survival Games matches under our wings here. What'd you think? What's your impressions of the first part of the show here so far? KDOGG, we'll start with you.
It's good enough for what it is. Surprised Lodi and Schuyler, like we were talking, went short. Schuyler beat him. So
that was the first match on the card there, and
right.
I was kind of surprised I think it only went about 8.5 minutes.
Right.
I know they had a match for PWX here a while back that was pretty insane in terms of what they did there, but they were bleeding all over the place in that one. Of course, you can't do that here in South Carolina, but
right.
that was kind of a surprise there. But the 8-man tag I thought was pretty good.
Yeah,
Billy, what do you think so far?
I think so far it's been a really good show, especially the 8-man tag. It's a little surprised that Bob Keller's crew wasn't able to pull it out with Big Hoss, but I got to give credit to B.J. Hancock's team. They isolated and put the guys to the side that they wanted to work on, and they got them eliminated very quickly, and Jackson James did the best he could at the end, but it was not enough for B.J. Hancock and the Hammer at the same time. But it's going to be interesting. I think that I Quit match, and hey, Keller was showing something that we hadn't seen, or I hadn't seen before. He was throwing out this crossface chicken wing
submission. Yeah, I was surprised on that.
Never really knew that Keller had anything in him in terms of being a submission wrestler,
right,
but
yeah.
He threw a few things out there. That was an impressive collection of talent there as well in terms of the guys that BJ was able to pull together there in terms of Anthony Henry and Eric Royal. I don't know if you guys have seen him work much, but he's more up in the mid-Atlantic area in terms of like CWF around Burlington and whatnot. So it was good to see him down here. And it's always good to have some fresh talent down here,
Yeah.
But that was a pretty impressive match there. This is a guy that I've been pretty high on here for a while. Jackson James. Jackson, to me, just has all the qualities.
Well, and he showed a lot of intensity, fighting back with the odds that he had. He for a moment there, you thought he was going to bring it home, definitely, but
he rode tonight.
it was just too much to overcome.
Yeah, Jackson's just one of those guys that, to me, looks. He's got all the tools that you need. If he continues to progress, he's going to be really something else.
Go far, yeah, and I think they could do a good feud. I would like to see him and Hammer. Hammer is jacked, and I've been a fan of him too. So I think Jackson James versus Hammer would be a good match.
Or even if you were to change things around, and this is probably far off, but if you were to try and go with something that might put Caleb Conley and Jackson James against each other, I think that would be an interesting matchup there as well.
Definitely.
But that's one of the great things is that we've got here in the Mid-Atlantic right now is we've got a lot of talent. We've been seeing a lot of guys get brought into WrestleForce, but I've just been up the road here within the past couple of weeks and seen all that Omega has to offer. So it's like we said before, it's a good time to be a fan of wrestling here in this area.
Definitely.
So it's fun. It's been a long time coming, seems like, but we finally got a handful of guys here that we can hang our hats on, I believe.
Yep,
So
definitely.
But what are you guys looking forward to the remainder of the show here?
The the girls. I'm always interested in new talent. So we got a new girl debuting, Lucy Mendez. I'd never heard of her. I was looking her up on the internet. She's apparently from St. Louis, so I mean that should be a good one.
I never heard the name before, so I really have no knowledge of what she's going to bring at all. But how about you, Billy?
Anytime you can see Cedric Alexander in action, is always a treat, because he's, it's interesting to get to see him in Ring of Honor and see what he's doing, and then to come in with PWX, and then to see this here at WrestleForce, being the champion, of course, it's always a treat to see.
Yeah, the feud for the WrestleForce Championship's kind of taken a a back seat here this month, but looking forward to seeing what they do in the next couple of months here, either with having Cedric feud, maybe continually with Caleb, or who would you guys think might be a good progression for Cedric to feud with?
I think you can't count on Anthony Henry. They had a really good run, just a few months ago, and I think he's always hanging around. He's always there, and I tell you, I think what BJ Hancock has really shown a lot as a singles competitor, and I know that right now he's caught up with Keller and working out their differences, so to speak, and trying to get that feud solved. But I hope it doesn't turn into a Tommy Rich Buzz Sawyer type deal where they go on and on and on, and it holds him back from going after some titles. So
See, you're going to throw out those references like that, and there's probably 3 people watching this who even know what that means right now, but that's impressive nonetheless.
Well, look it up.
Exactly.
YouTube, there's no excuse if you do not know
Exactly. Kids out there, if you don't know what he's talking about, use that little popular website out there called Google and look up Tommy Rich and those guys. That's definitely worth watching. But you, KDOGG, what do you think is going to be in the future as far as guys that Cedric could be challenging, or whoever the WrestleForce champions might be at that point in time?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think maybe Big Hoss. They seem to be pushing him. I know he's doing a lot of promoting here on social media, but the big man, I don't know. He can come in and crush him.
He's a big guy, and you're always going to have an attraction like that.
Right.
I don't know that he impresses me that much as a wrestler per se, but the guy who can draw, that's important regardless, when you talk about the business of things. So, all right, well, fellas, we got, I don't want to call it a half of the show left here, but you might as well go ahead and call it a half, because the War Game, I did it, I called it a War Games match, but the Survival Games match will probably run 30 minutes, and who knows how long the ladies will be in the ring there, but we'll see how it goes. KDOGG, Billy, appreciate you guys joining me again on the program here, and Joey, our new mascot. All right, that'll wrap up another WrestleForce card there. Appreciate Billy and KDOGG being on the show there. James Strong Style Shaver was here as well. Didn't get a chance to get him on the show this time, but it was good to see James out here. He comes from near and far to go to these shows. He's a great example of somebody who drives and supports wrestling pretty much anywhere it is. It's great to see those guys, though, and appreciate them being around to continue what we've started here with Rasslin with Redbeard. Show here this evening really ramped things up towards the end there. The second Survival Games match between Team Cedric and Team Caleb. Wow, that's all I can say. But I would watch Cedric Alexander and Vordell Walker any day of the week. That's a really incredible pair right there when you talk about the potential for a match between them. Don't know when we'll see Vordell again here. Vordell's been around for a number of years, and he's been burning up the roads left and right. Got an opportunity here recently. Actually had a match with Titus O'Neil for one of the WWE programs, and had a good showing there. So hopefully he's on the cusp of moving on to bigger and better things. He's definitely got the talent and the ability. Tremendous athlete. And speaking of which, 2 guys that continue to earn my praise. I know people probably are going to get sick of hearing me say things about Jackson James, but he and Cedric Alexander as well, the conditioning that they displayed here this evening and going 20 plus minutes into a wrestling match as being a primary participant, that is amazing. You cannot, you can say whatever you want to say in terms of not being into wrestling because it's a scripted sport or whatever else, but to do what those guys do in having a match and having a match that's at that high of a level where they are facing off against 2, 3, 4 guys, how many ever they were on there with. That's really something else. It takes a very high level of individual as far as athleticism is concerned to do something like that, and they both pulled it off phenomenally. Can't say enough about that. Show overall here was good. This is probably the better WrestleForce show that I've seen here in a while. The women's match, you know, I hate that they don't get the attention that they should, and I'm going to do a little bit of a WWE rant here and saying that they've done a fantastic job of making women's wrestling into a joke. So when people see a women's match, they immediately become disinterested because they think it's going to be that, and it's not. You've got 2 competitors here in the form of Darcy Dixon and Lucy Mendez this evening, put on a great match. And yet the fans took a dump on it. Other than at the very end when they took things to a little bit more of a, not really extreme level or hardcore level, but when they got out of the ring and Darcy began laying some stiff shots onto Lucy, then you know, the fans got interested. But wrestling fans are so fickle. That's just amazing to me. But anyway, women's match didn't get the kind of respect it should have. I was kind of surprised that Lodi and John Schuyler not only were on first, but only got about 8 or 9 minutes. I feel like that could have gone and been something a little bit more impressive there, but whatever. I'm not booking the show. Then we had Zane, Riley, and Josh Powers. Fun little match. You know, you're not going to see a wrestling clinic by any means when you've got Zane in the ring there, but it was still funny, still entertaining, and that's what matters. So overall, strong show. I thought $10, which is kind of weird because last month it was 12. This month it's 10. The month before that I think it was 12 as well. But $10 is not bad for an indie show like this. The Hangar, it's the Hangar. It's probably the better of the 2 venues that I've seen. A show with WrestleForce in. Seating is definitely better, even though I was standing at the bar for a majority of the show because that was a better perspective to film. But this was a fun little evening here. Got to hang out with some good people. Saw some good wrestling. It's a quick, convenient little drive for me, so there's nothing bad about this. That's going to wrap it up for us. That's number 5 in the can there for Rasslin with Redbeard. I have not screwed it up this time. I've impressed myself. I didn't call it Redbeard's Rasslin or something like that. I've been consistent in calling it Rasslin with Redbeard, so I'm getting the hang of this. But at any rate, appreciate everybody joining me again. KDOGG, Billy, everybody who comes to the shows. We appreciate you guys being out here and for participating and just supporting wrestling. So we'll see you next time. Where, I have no idea. Got a few shows that are on tap this month, but as far as whether or not I'll be there, it's kind of a toss-up because I've got a vacation coming up later this month. My wife and I are going out of town for the weekend to see a mouse. Yeah, looking forward to that one. But we'll be out of town that weekend, and I've got other stuff going on, so this may be the only one I get to do in May, but we'll see as time allows. And with that, we'll see you down the road.